Hey everyone, Vazzy back here, and today we are looking at our third episode of our Tampa Bay Lightning franchise mode. If you did miss the first one, we went through, or first two, sorry, we went through the preseason and the first 41 games of the regular season. Currently, our team is sitting at a record of 20 wins, 17 losses, and 4 overtime losses. We are currently sitting in a playoff spot right now. We are third in the Atlantic, just behind the Leafs and Bruins. So overall, the team is set up pretty good here going into the second half of the season. We also did survive the 2-month absence without Vasylovsky in the lineup, with Jonas Johansson and Donsk that we traded for. So yeah, with that being said, let's take a quick look at the lineup here, just if you missed it or have forgot from the first couple episodes, and then we'll go from there. So really, it's more or less what you would expect from the Tampa Bay Lightning in the Year 1 simulation. Nothing really too much has changed. Obviously, your top guys, Point, Cooch, Stamkos. Cirelli is centering that second line. We do have Janot on the third line. We've been messing around with that a bit. Defensively, again, it's what you would expect. The only change I really made here was switching out Bogosian for Calvin DeHaan. Bogosian hasn't played at all this year. Kind of want to see what he has. And then obviously we have Vasylovsky back in the net, with Jonas Johansson backing him up. So with all that being said, let's get into this, as I do want to get to the playoffs and kind of see what's going on there. So that means getting through the trade deadline and all that. Let's jump into the first game here against the Kings. First period, 1-0 Kings, Pierre-Luc Dubois on Vasylovsky. 3-1 after the second, Trevor Moore, Kempe. I missed Tampa's goal scorer there. Kempe adds another one here in the third. They're definitely outshooting us here, 34-20. Still 4-1. Yeah, definitely not looking great for our first game back here in the simulation. 5 minutes, 5-1 now. Kempe adds another. I think that's his hat-trick goal there. Definitely not a great start for the boys here. But hey, it's just one game. We'll go from there. And yeah, let's just get simulating. Let's get to the end of the season here. So up next we have the New Jersey Devils. 2-1 loss to the Devils, 2 straight losses to start it off. We also lose to the Ducks 5-0. Yikes. It's not a great start here to this third episode here of the franchise mode. Do beat the Wild 3-2 in regulation. Against the Sabres here, we do beat them as well 2-1. Switch the goalies. Let's get Johansson in there, get Vasi a little bit of a break. Perfect. See what Jonas Johansson can do against the Wings. He beats them as well, so I believe that is 3 straight wins here for the guys after losing 3 to start the second half of the season here. So it's always good to see a rebound performance like that. Going up against the Flyers, not having the best year in the simulation. We do beat them in overtime. That's 4 straight wins. Going against the Coyotes, do lose in overtime, 3-2 to them. Couple of trade-off. That makes no sense. Alnefeld in the second for a third and a fourth. CPU trades are definitely weird in this game at times. We do beat the Devils. Another weird trade with Alnefeld. Yeah, I don't know. That's just the computer AI for you, let's just say. Against the New York Rangers here, we beat them 6-4 in regulation. Switch the goalies here for the back-to-back. Yeah, Jonas Johansson's actually done pretty good, so let's see what he can do, I believe, against the Islanders here. 3-1 win. So yeah, it's another good game out of him, and that puts us to 27-20 on the year. That's pretty good for us so far after having a bit of a slow start to the season. Definitely rebounded here, which is definitely good to see. Against the Columbus Blue Jackets, 7-3 loss, not great. Boston's simming really good, it looks like, in the simulation. We do beat them 4-2. We also beat the Avalanche 4-1. Good to see against the Panthers here. 5-4 in the shootout. Nice little win streak again here. 4-1 loss to the Senators. Another weird trade from the AI. Against the Capitals here. Winning the shootout 4-3. First game of a back-to-back against the Islanders. Syracuse injury. 5-3 loss to them. And again, let's switch out the goalies, get Johansson a start here. Yeah, I've been actually really surprised how somewhat reliable he's been as the backup this year. Was not expecting that, but And as I say that, he does lose 3-0, but he's had a good season overall, so not the end of the world. Let's get Vazzy back in here for a couple of games as we head into the trade deadline. So while we're at 60 games here, let's take a pause and kind of see where our stats are looking at for the team. So looking at forwards, obviously the top guy is kind of what you'd expect. Sorelli, I kind of want a little bit more out of. Morella's actually having a pretty good rookie year. Jeannot, I definitely want more out of, not doing great. Paul, I also want a bit more out of. Logan Brown's been alright. On the defensive side of things, Sergachev I might want a little bit more from. Radish ain't doing too great. Bogosian is doing horrible. Definitely have to get him substituted out. And Vasi, Johansson, like I said, doing great this year, so nothing really to touch goaltending wise, but yeah, I definitely want to make a couple of changes to this team for sure. So let's go take a look at the lines here quick before we get simulating again. What can we change here? Make a little bit of a spark. Jeannot, Morella, Sherry. I kind of want Sherry to be that good third line option. Morella's done pretty good, so let's move him up. Bogosian definitely has to come out. He's been not great. Throw Dahan in. And yeah, we'll probably switch him with Perbix. I'm happy with that for now. He's had a good year, so kind of spread it out. But yeah, with that being said, let's continue the simulation here. Against the Flyers, starting it off, 4-5 win in the shootout. Against the Sabres, oh great, Braden Point goes down. I'm going to have to edit the lines here for a bit, and I will come back to you guys. So the one good thing is it doesn't appear that Point's going to be out too long. I just switched Stamkos where Point was, Paul where Stamkos was, and then Brown and Easymont just kind of slot in on the bottom six. Overall, yeah, I don't think this injury should be the worst news here. Hopefully we get Point back sooner than later though, for sure, because that's definitely an absolutely huge blow if he's out long term, but as far as I know, he shouldn't be out too long. There you go, Point's available to come back. I'm not going to throw him in just yet, just for lingering injury and all that. Don't want him to get re-injured. We do beat the Flames here heading into the trade deadline. And with that being said, I just kind of want to jump into the lines here again, just kind of see what I want to do in the trade deadline. Ideally, I want a second line winger to kind of go where Morella is. I like him a lot, but I kind of want someone more veteran kind of for the playoffs overall. You guys know what I mean. And going to the defensive side of things, I definitely want someone for that bottom pair, if not maybe a number 3 or 4 to play with Sergachev there. Again, I don't know how that's going to really work with our cap situation here, as it's not great. But I'll see what we can do here as we enter the trade deadline. Hopefully there'll be some good players on the block. Hopefully some cheap guys too, some good rentals, maybe veterans that were on those league min contracts. Let's kind of see what we have here. So Jeremy Swayman, Kadri, Deneau, Tanev, more expensive guys. I'll come back to you guys if I find a trade I like here. So after doing a little bit of digging, not too long, I found Chris Weidman on the Habs. The reason I like him is he's on not a great Habs team at all here. So they sit 24, 33, and 6, and he's only -1. Decent offensive stats, nothing too crazy of course, but he's just going to be a bottom pairing guy for us. But yeah, he looks solid. For Bogosian, who's had a horrible year and a 6th round pick, I think this is definitely a no-brainer. And the Habs accept our trade, and that looks really good. So that was all I really actually decided to do with the trade deadline. I tried to look at some veteran wingers and stuff. The issue was just salary cap. We had like $500,000 in cap space, and guys that I was kind of looking at were just too expensive. Here's a look at some of the trades that went around in the NHL. Some decent sized ones. The Jets were making a lot of movements for whatever reason, but yeah. So the one trade was just having Chris Weidman, and I did add him in our lineup here, as I will show you guys. No changes on the forward core side of things. Everything I believe stayed the same here. On defense, yeah, I just added Weidman to play with Dahan. I moved Perbix back up. He was playing really good with Sergachev, so I did decide to leave him there for the moment's notice. So let's get into a slow sim game here and kind of see how Weidman affects the sim. I also added Braden Point back to the lineup. 2-0 after the first, Hagel Morella. Sergachev gets one on the power play, followed by Sanheim from them. So definitely a better simulation game here than the Kings game a little bit earlier in the video, as we are up 3-1 here. We're out shooting them heavily. Morella gets, I believe that's his second of the game. Sherry gets another one. 5 minutes left in the third period. Don't see any way they're coming back from this. And Sherry adds another one. So 6-1 win in Philadelphia after the trade deadline. that's definitely a good way to start off the final push to the playoffs here. So let's keep simulating here, as I definitely want to get this year done and kind of see what's going on with the playoffs. Sitting 36-24, 37-24-5, that's pretty good at the moment. Another win against the Panthers, 4-2. Yeah, we're kind of on cruise control here after a bit of a slow start, which is good to see. As I say that, we do lose to the Knights as we're on our West Coast swing here in California. 4-1 over the Sharks. Sergachev goes down. That's not good. I'm going to edit the lines here and I'll come back to you guys. So all I really did was just throw Darren Radish in where Sergachev was. I wanted to throw Weidman up there, but -3, so it's not the end of the world. I don't believe it's a long-term injury as well, so we should have him back rather soon. Let's switch the goalies here quick for the back-to-back in California. Get Johansson some playing time again. Ducks doing really good in the simulation, interesting to see. And they do beat us 6-3. That's one thing, even just watching other YouTubers, the Ducks simulate really well, which is very interesting to see for sure. Alright, so getting Vazzy back in there. Let's go to the game against the Bruins here, as it kind of looks like we're battling with them for the top spot, and there's Sergachev coming back. Not going to throw him in right away. Oh, Sherry goes down as well. That's a bit of a smaller injury. I'll just throw Easymont in here quick, just kind of fill his place for the moment's notice. I didn't see how long Sherry was out for, but do lose to the Bruins 3-2 in the shootout. Let's see if we can get Sergachev back in there now. Let's see if he still has the lingering injury or not. He's not, so yeah, we'll just throw him back in where Radish is. Yeah, Radish not having the best year, at least plus-minus wise, so let's see what we can do with that. The return of Sergachev to the lineup. And now Perbix goes down. Definitely have a little bit of the injury bug going around here. So yeah, let's throw what's his face, Darren Radish back in there for Perbix. Yeah, I'd probably rather have Dahan, better defensively on that second pairing than Radish. Win there against the Detroit Red Wings. Perbix is back. Okay, so a lot of short-term injuries, which is at least good to see. Let's switch the goalies around here on the back-to-back, see if anyone's ready to come back. So against the Montreal Canadiens here, who do not sit all that high in the standings, we beat them 4-2. Let's see here. Going against the Penguins coming up. We'll get Vazzy back in for that game. Perbix is the playable injury, so we'll leave him for the moment. Let him come back full strength, as we don't want him to have injury out for the playoffs. 7-2 win over the Penguins, that's great to see. And by the time we play our next game, he should be all healed up, so we'll just switch him with Radish here real quick, and we'll get back into the simulation. So we do play the Jackets up next, who look like they are in a fight for a wild card spot. If not a division, I'm not sure. And Connor Sherry comes back, so that's good to see as well. So once we get him back into the lineup, that's really I was going to say a full bill of health, but down goes Vasilevsky again for the second time this year. I didn't see how long he's going to be out for, but that's a really big injury here going into the playoffs as we get closer to that. So that's not great, let's just say. We'll get Sherry back in here while we're in the lineup screen. But yeah, it'll kind of be Johansson's team at least for the last little bit of the season. As we are at 79 games played, so hopefully we can get Vazzy back soon. 5-3 win against the Capitals. 9-4 win against the Sabres. And there you go. So Vazzy, we're going to hold him out to the playoffs, but good to see he will be available for that. And then jumping into the final game of the season here against the Leafs. Ooh, 4-0 in the first. Johansson's pulled. 5-0. No need to even really watch this. 6-1. So tough way to end the year, but overall, I think we had a really successful season as we sat, was that 48, 28, and 6? We're second in the division. That's really, really good overall. But yeah, I think honestly, for not having Vasilevsky for the first 2 months of the season, yeah, that's really, really good, good stats for us. Let's kind of look at some of the team stats here, as it looks like we will be facing the Florida Panthers in the first round, so we will have the Battle of Florida, which is going to be very entertaining. Goals for per game, 3.41. Goals against, 295. PK, penalty, or power play. Looking not too bad overall. So going into individual stats, looking at the forwards, you know, more or less everyone did pretty good. Cirelli actually got back to that more 55-point range. That's not bad. Morella, really, really good. I'd just be surprised if he doesn't grow in the off-season. Everyone looking good other than really Jeannot. It's been frustrating. Sergachev, only 30 points. Let's see what Weidman did here. 5 points and a +5. Can't argue with that. I think that's a pretty good trade for us. Then moving on to goaltending here quick. And yeah, really, really good overall. Vazzy, 32, 10, and 5. Johansson, 14, 10, and 1. Both really good save percentage and goals against averages. So yeah, I'm actually really, really happy with that for sure. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for this video. Kind of did what we set out to do. Make it to the second half of the season and make it into the playoffs. And yeah, it looks like we will be facing the Florida Panthers here in round 1. Should make sure that's the case. Yakupov's coming back. Yes, it is the Florida Panthers in round 1 of the first year simulation. So that's going to do it for episode 3 of our franchise mode here in Tampa Bay. Make sure you catch us in the next one, as we will be going to the Stanley Cup playoffs.